Good afternoon, everybody. This is Talking Gods. This is something that me and Jess we put together just actually a few hours ago. Um, we are fans of American Gods, and I'm sure as a lot of you have seen the TV show. But of course, I'm being kind of rude right now. With me is Jess Bragg. How are you?
Kid Hardcover, how you doing?
Good, good. So we're just gonna actually get into it. Okay, fair warning. This is full spoilers, okay? We are full spoilers right now. If you have not seen the first episode of American Gods, you need to go watch it and come back and watch this video. We are not going to hold back. We're going to give our thoughts on it. We're going to talk about, in some ways, the book, because you've read the book, correct?
I have, yeah. I read it a long time ago when it came out,
Right.
and I'm rereading it now that I've seen the first episode. It made me want to read it again.
And I've read up to, I've read about half of it so far. I've been digging the
Mm.
hell out of it, but I've been digging the hell out of it. So you have, out of the both of us, you have the most experience with the books. Would you say you're a big fan of it?
Oh, yeah, it's one of my favorite books ever. Yeah, definitely. It's a huge. I think it's the book that put Neil Gaiman on the map, pretty much. He
Hmm.
was well known in the comic book world, and I don't know. He did a book with Terry Pratchett, what was it called? Loose Good Omens and Good Omens with Terry Pratchett, and then he did Stardust, Neverwhere, and Smoke and Mirrors before he did American Gods. But I think American Gods is what really put him on the map
Hmm.
16 years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great right from the start. It just hooked me immediately, and I thought it was amazing.
Same. At least from the half that I've read, it's a bit trippy at times because there are certain moments where things happen and it flashes into one scene and jumps into another scene. But I really dug that about it. Neil Gaiman has just this really weird, not weird, really unique writing style to him that I don't think I see in other authors today.
No, I agree with that. And I want to make sure people looking at the name of this vid don't think that you and I are talking gods.
No, no, no.
We're not talking gods. We're talking about American gods.
Exactly. We're talking about specifically the TV show American Gods. I'll probably end up changing
Yeah.
the name. That's just something that's like a placeholder right now. You'll probably be
No,
like,
I like talking gods. That's a great idea.
but okay, let's dive into it. So first things first, how did you feel overall after watching the pilot?
I went in with low expectations. I didn't read any reviews or look online at anything. So I just kind of went in with low expectations because as you say, it's a trippy book. There's a lot of hard to um, personify creations there that he comes up with. So I went in with low expectations, but I was blown away. I loved this first episode. Ian McShane is a great Mr. Wednesday. Of course, he's a great actor just in general, but he plays Mr. Wednesday absolutely perfectly. Um, I like the protagonist, Shadow. Wait,
Shadow
what is
Moon.
his name again?
Shadow Moon.
Shadow Moon, right? I like him. I did notice that they did go. I think I thought it was interesting that they cast an African American in that role
Hmm.
because in the book they're sort of they're not really specific about his race. Of course, they use some. They've got some colorful language about what he is in prison. They say, "And what are you?" A blank. I can't say it. A it's a expletive for Hispanic. A gypsy. Not that I know of. Maybe you got blank. Expletive for African American. Maybe you got some of that blood in you. You got blank blood in you, Shadow. And he said, "Could be, sir." So he's not white, but it sounds like he's kind of light, maybe light-skinned, mixed race. I don't know,
Yeah.
but so that's one of the only things that I thought was interesting, that they cast him, because I'm jumping ahead to the part where he gets the crap beat out of him by the internet god,
Yeah.
and they show him getting lynched. That really made me uncomfortable to see a black guy getting lynched, quite frankly. Now that's at the end of the show. We're totally spoiling it. That's at the very end of the first hour of the first episode, and he ends up getting saved, obviously, and we don't know who saves him. That's how the show ends. But I thought that was an interesting casting choice, and maybe they did it on purpose, the lynching, because to make you squirm, because I think the book has in it a lot of, it takes on a lot of religious, not tropes, but a lot of symbols of faith, and it's the old gods versus the new gods. So maybe they cast that character specifically to make you squirm. I don't know what they have in mind for future, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it was just, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it would have been the same if they had cast some light-skinned, racially mixed guy, and it wouldn't have seemed as bad. I don't know.
No, I don't. That was one of the few scenes, which we're gonna get into the main wow scene that everybody was talking about on Twitter this morning a little bit.
Right.
But that was one of the few scenes that was one of many, actually, I would argue, that was really striking. And I wouldn't doubt if they did that absolutely on purpose to kind of still highlight in a way that there is still this undercurrent of a bit of racism in the United States. Still, maybe that's kind of what they were going for. Or maybe I'm just digging too deep into that or something. But it was very evocative, and it was very, very striking seeing, this day and age, somebody who is obviously I believe the actor is African American descent, and he was lynched, and it looked really grim for a minute there. I was like, are they going to kill this guy off in the first episode? Because I remember the last time I read the book was, at least up to half of it, was a few years ago, and I remember parts of it vaguely. I'm doing a reread of it, and my Kindle said it was about 30. I'm about 35% through with it.
Oh, okay.
So
he also has dreams. A noose appears in dreams, and a noose appears in the prison yard before he gets out. Some of the white supremacist guys are dangling it. So there is. It is that you're right. I think you're right. It is there on purpose. It is a troubling symbol, and that's what this whole thing is about: is symbols. I mean, just the opening credits alone. I looked at the opening credits a couple times because there was so much thrown at you. There was symbols of faith reimagined. There was like an astronaut on the cross. Fiber optics appeared, a menorah appeared, drugs were there, Buddha, Vegas, signs from Las Vegas were in there, cars were there, which I assume represent consumerism, which I assume is a big god. There's an eagle and it all formed a totem pole with an eagle at the top. I think that there was, anytime you put an astronaut on a cross, that can be considered blasphemous. But Christians, I think the majority of people watching this will just go, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing. You will notice they didn't do anything in there about any type of Islamic type of blasphemy, and they were probably smart to do that. But I mean, they threw in religious symbols and faith-based symbols, and as I said, the cars. I can't remember in the book if consumerism is a god, because I just restarted it again.
I don't recall. I think that's Mr. World, isn't it? No.
You know, I just started it again, and so I can't speak
Yeah.
to it properly. But yeah, that sounds right. What you said. But do you want to talk about the scene that everybody was talking about? Is this
Okay.
about the goddess Bilquis?
What'd you say? Come here. So she's gonna chime in. Okay, so we're gonna get actually another perspective because she has no background on American Gods whatsoever. She's
Okay.
heard of the book before, but
No, I never heard of the book.
she's never even heard of the book before. So this was her first time actually watching it, or being and being introduced to American Gods. This is Jocelyn.
Aloha.
Okay,
Aloha.
so we got mine and Jess's impressions of the first episode. What did you think?
I thought it was fucking badass.
You really liked it? What'd you like about it the most?
That scene in the beginning
Which
was
scene?
actually pretty fantastic.
Which one?
You know the scene.
Oh, the one we're going to talk about right now?
Mhm.
The Bella. Okay, so we're getting right into Bella Quist. Okay. She had no clue what was going to happen. I had read that scene already, and I know you had read it already.
But I forgot about it.
You forgot about it?
Yeah, I read the book 16 years ago, so I forgot about it.
Because that scene is really infamous among American Gods fans, where you can tell people, oh, have you read that scene yet in your read of American Gods? And most of them will go, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You don't even really have to mention it. So I'm going to just go around the round table. What did you think about it? I want to hear your perspective because you had no clue it was coming and you were left with your mouth wide open.
What do I think about it?
Be honest. What did you think?
I honestly thought it was badass, and I've never heard of something like that before. It was pretty cool.
Okay.
I was like, is she consuming him through her parts? Like, it was just freaking weird.
Through her toto.
Through her hoo-hoo?
Yeah, through her hoo-hoo.
That was pretty awesome. I'm sure feminists will love that.
Jess, what did you think?
Well, it's like a 3-minute horror story for middle-aged white men like myself. It's like a 3-minute movie of like everything I do not want to happen to me if I ever become single again, and what a nightmare is out there for me possibly. But yeah, it was like it went from sort of like a light not light atmosphere, but it went from the story into a very dark red candle scene, which instantly felt wrong. And you definitely felt like something was going to happen, and it did happen. And the way it happened was, I think they got it pitch perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she wanted him to worship her and worship her and keep worshiping. And as she consumed him through her hoo-hoo, she became younger and more vital, and sort of reclaimed her strength and power. You could see it in her face, how she sort of radiated by consuming the guy that was worshiping her. And
Did she become younger?
I don't know if she became younger, but she sort of looked tired. If you rewatch it, she looked tired in the bar scene. Still pretty, but she looked tired. And after she consumed him, she looked very much revitalized. Smoother skin. Her eyes were clear, and she just seemed revitalized to me. So of course, that's definitely a middle-aged white guy nightmare there, right there for me. That I'm going to go out there and get consumed by somebody.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of you going on like a Tinder date and it just going horribly.
That's about as wrong as it can get.
Yeah,
it can go.
I think they captured it perfectly from the book. Every single moment from that day, I was like, I wonder how they're gonna do this. And even then at cons, you heard them say, yeah, people asking us all the time, how are you going to do that scene? And they just keep saying, oh, we're just going to do it directly from the book. And I'm like, is Stars really going to allow them to show a guy basically being consumed by a vagina and being sucked in? But the thing is, he's like, and he's smiling the whole time. He's in paradise. He's like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is amazing. He's got this euphoric look on his face.
Yeah.
I wish they would have shown his perspective, though, as to what was.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point, to see what he saw happening.
Seeing or whatever.
So that
would have been really cool.
You wanted a vagina cam? Where it was
sure,
just going.
No, but what was going on in his mind? He didn't realize what was going on. Obviously, there was some sort of.
Yeah, I mean, she was growing. By the very end, he was either shrinking or she was growing, because she had her hand like on his head. His head was tiny, and her hand was stretched out as she was pushing him in. I just assumed that she had grown in power, and that's all I assumed. Sorry, I knocked over my Donna Troy figure. So. Speaking of strong females, I have to set her back up.
I loved your reaction, because your reaction was like the collective reaction of everybody on Twitter this morning. They all just had like their mouth open going, what did I just see? And you could totally tell who the fans were that read the book and who weren't the fans that have had no previous experience with it.
Yeah, and that couldn't have been an easy scene to shoot, especially for the actress, and for the flabby white guy. But the actress really did a really good job of staying in character, and I mean, they showed almost everything, and she was just really sold that character. I just assumed she was the goddess Bilquis, or however you say it. So. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Scary.
It was very well done from the way it was shot, from the way it was just the setup and everything. Like, you knew when he was going into that red room, something was off.
I thought she was a witch.
You thought she was a witch?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do have a question.
Yeah.
How did he know to like worship her so perfectly? Like, he repeated her name, what she was all about, everything. Like,
I think the book explains that a little bit better. He's basically entranced by her.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in
I think he becomes a follower of her all of a sudden. He just becomes a follower of her, and it just floods into his brain what he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
He's in a state of like euphoric trance, and she puts him in it.
Yeah. He dies a happy guy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go out, then
it's not the way to go out.
But there are worse ways. There are worse ways.
I guess.
The guy. Okay.
I'll go out that way. I'll sign up to going out that way right now. If I gotta go, I'll go out that way.
I mean, one of the characters in the show just died because his dick got cut off because he was in a car accident.
That was pretty funny.
That was funny.
Oh my God.
That I was going to say, that widow of the guy, she did a great job at the gravesite. She was really into her part, where she was so torn up and everything that it was almost comedic how bitter she was towards her husband that had been fooling around with Shadow's wife. I mean, that was a pretty compelling scene about how bitter and unhappy she was, and still how it tore her up. And I thought she did a wonderful job with that role.
Let's talk. Hold on, before I jump into that, actually, I wanted to mention one more thing. There is a bit of an underlying current of a small tinge of black comedy, especially at the beginning of the episode, where that
the
guy.
Very beginning, that's hilarious.
I started dying laughing. The guy that gets shot by like 50 arrows at the beginning of the episode.
Like 500 arrows. He just.
That whole first scene was really cool, though.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed the arm chopped off flying through the air that goes across the screen with a sword in it and ends up impaling that guy who's all full of victory and
See, I
ends up
really
going.
enjoyed the whole Viking scene. That was pretty cool.
The
Yeah,
beginning.
that was and that was funny how they I don't know, the whole thing was very much a black comedy. Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to set the tone for the whole thing, if it was going to be a black comedy like that, but I like that it can throw in elements of black comedy and it's still scary, like the horror scene with Bilquis, and then it's got some pathos and sadness at the gravesite. I mean, it had a lot of stuff going on in it,
Right.
to play with a lot of your emotions.
Let's talk some gods. Okay. So, for the sake of not spoiling who exactly Mr. Wednesday is, because she doesn't know.
And I've forgotten.
You forgot who he is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read it 16 years ago. So, I mean, I don't even remember the comic books I read 3 months ago. So that's why I'm rereading the book right now. Yeah. So I've forgotten who Mr. Wednesday is.
I caught on to who Mr. Wednesday is pretty quickly. Because at the time that I read this, I was in college and I was like studying mythology and like a whole bunch of different religions and stuff. So the minute like you meet him on the airplane, I was like, oh, well, he's probably this one. And sure enough, it was. So for the sake of that, we're not going to refer to who he exactly is. But what did you think of Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday? I thought he stole the show. Like that, he is the show for me.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, I guess if I had a guess, he'd be Loki, but I don't know.
No, he's not Loki.
He's not Loki? Okay.
No, but Loki's in there.
Okay.
Loki he's in fact, Loki is even in the pilot.
Loki was in the pilot?
He's in the pilot.
Think
real hard.
Well, I know there was a leprechaun in the pilot.
There was a leprechaun, almost 7 foot tall leprechaun.
Yeah, 7 foot tall Irish leprechaun.
He's
your favorite? Mad Sweeney? I love Mad Sweeney.
Gosh, this is how bad a memory I've got. I just saw the TV show and I can't think what character that he interacted with could have been Loki. Where
not saying anything. Well, I was actually surprised they didn't outright say it. I'm willing to bet because when Gaiman wrote this was 2001, and Loki wasn't as well known in mainstream media, but thanks to like the Avengers movies and stuff like that, he is. So I'm willing to bet because of that, they withheld his name on the pilot episode, and that'll be like a reveal later on.
I'm trying to think of who even the two main characters even interacted with now. Now I'm scratching my head trying to think who they went with. I did see that I can't wait to see who she is because I love her, is Kristen Chenoweth. I can't wait to see what god she is, what goddess she is.
Kristen
sorry?
Kristen Chenoweth?
Yeah, Chenoweth, yeah.
Okay.
She's in the previews. She's in the and I can't think of what goddess she would be, but I think it's great that she's in it because I love everything she's ever done.
What do you think of Matt Sweeney? I loved him. I thought right off the page.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he did a good job, especially with the coin tricks.
Yeah, and the coin stuff plays a much larger role with his story later on.
Okay.
So that's really important stuff. Who else? We talked about Sweeney. We talked Ian McShane, who once again, when you're first introduced to him at the airport scene, and he's like playing like he's like old demented or whatever it is, and he gets bumped up to first class. I was like, wow.
Well, yeah, and then he persuades the flight attendant to not take his drink and to bring him another drink, and to bring Shadow Moon another drink. So that's what made me think he was Loki, but I'm going to have to think now of who a god is that's a persuader god. So I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the internet god?
Little jilted asshole. I did
he
not like
played it.
him.
He played it perfectly as a Silicon Valley douche.
Oh yeah. Oh my. I wanted to hit him. I hated him so much. In those few minutes that I could see him being. I know you're not familiar with Game of Thrones, but I could actually see him being the King Joffrey of this series.
You're that's stretching it.
Do you think it's stretching it? He's such a little asshole, though. Right when you meet him, like he's smoking toads. Who the hell smokes toads?
Wizards.
You know, whenever you personify something amorphous like a god or a concept, you're taking a risk, because especially from a book that's popular and people already have figured out in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And when you personify him on screen like this guy was, you're taking a risk that you're running the risk of hitting a wrong note.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they nailed that perfectly with him, how he attached himself to Shadow, his message, what he looked like, his henchmen. I was really impressed with that, because I was worried how they were going to portray the new gods. The new gods are more concepts than the old gods were.
Mm-hmm.
The old gods were a lot more easy to portray, I think, and these new gods are concepts and stuff. So I think that's going to. I was happy to see that they really nailed it with the internet guy. I can't remember what he represents or what his name was.
Techno douche. That's what I'm going with right now.
Techno douche. Yeah, he was the technology douche. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed in the book when I first read it was, we all have in our minds what the old gods were like, the Greek and Roman gods and the Norwegian gods. But these new gods, these American gods of, you know, things that we're going to find out about are really concepts and not personified yet. And so now these are the first personifications of them we're getting. And so it's really important that they nail it. And they really did with this first one. So I was happy with that.
What impresses me so much is just how far ahead of Neil Gaiman was when he wrote American Gods in 2001. This was before, I would argue, this was before the internet was what it is today. This was before social media. This was before the iPhone. And like our obsession with computers, with fame, with all this other stuff seems to have only racketed up throughout the years. And Gaiman was writing about this stuff in 2001. It's in a way kind of scary, because we do in a way have new gods. They are, like you said, personifications of what we are obsessed with today, our obsession with technology, our obsession with media, especially social media. Everybody in the world wants to have their 5 minutes of fame. You see all the time, somebody does something stupid online in the hopes of getting like 1 million clicks or going viral or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when you think about it, I remember it was 1997 when I first got AOL. And so and I think within 3 years I had gotten a new account, or I got hired. I got a faster internet connection. So if he's starting to write that, I mean, I don't think he just wrote that book in 2001. I think he started writing it a lot earlier than that. So you're right. He was really way ahead of his time, picking up on the internet as being a new god, because it was before it blew up to what you're saying it was now. Back in 2001, that's like right around when the .com bubble started happening, and in the stock market. And so say it took him 3 years to write it. He must have started in 98 or something and really foresaw interesting things, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to touch on before we kind of move on to closing thoughts?
Nope, we pretty much covered everything that I have.
I just want to put one last thing. What was, because my memory is a little bit fuzzy right now. What was that scene with the buffalo with the fire in his eyes?
Oh, yeah, that was in his dreams.
Right.
I think that's a metaphor for what's coming. You know, the buffalo represents America.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
think the buffalo represents America, and he's got fire coming out of his eyes, which I assume means that that is a representation to me, a metaphor for um, the American gods themselves, or what's going to be happening. You know, America's possibly going to be going on fire because of this war between the old and the new gods.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, to me, that's what the buffalo represented.
Okay.
Was a foretelling of what was going to be happening, that he was going to be a part of.
Right. It's one of the more visually like wow impressive moments of the show, and a show that we've only had one episode. We've had a lot of visually impressive stuff, but I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I was like, I'm not sure I remember anything about this from the book. I'm not entirely sure if I remember what the symbolism is here or what goes with it, but
Yeah.
I still dug it. And man, Brian Fuller, who did Hannibal, God, these guys really know how to shoot some blood scenes.
that first scene, I don't know that
Oh,
I've seen more blood in more of that syrupy goop in my life, with
oh,
the Vikings getting into the battle. It was laughable. There was just so much gore
oh.
splattering everywhere.
It was so over the, and then the ending scene where you see the guy's spine like flying in the middle of the air. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so overall thoughts. What'd you think? Just close.
I give it a 10 out of 10. I thought it hit all the right notes with brilliant characters, well written, true to the book from what I remember. I think it is so far my favorite show has been Legion, and I don't know. I feel like Legion's a 9.5 out of 10, and this is a 10 out of 10 because it had so many, as you said, there were so many visual things going on. There's so many layers, just like in Legion. There were so many layers going that we had to see through. There were so many things in this first episode that set up the rest of the episodes that were so interesting and so visually striking that I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna say as well. This exceeded my expectations by a mile. A few years ago, had you told me they're gonna do American Gods on TV, I would have said there's no way they could do it. But I'll be damned if they didn't. And I hope it keeps it up. My only worry is, will they be able to keep this up? Because it is such an impressive pilot. It is such a great episode, and it introduces you to things so well that I'm a bit worried if they'll be able to keep the momentum up. It is only an 8-episode season, so we'll see. That gives them not much room to play with, so I'm willing to bet that the scripts are really tight, the writing is tight, which if you've seen any of Brian Fuller's stuff before, you know whatever he touches is basically gold, from Pushing Daisies to Hannibal to a whole bunch of other stuff that he's done. But I'm in, and I'm actually in the same boat with you. We talked a few weeks ago, and I said the Legion was probably the best TV show that I've seen this year. I think it might be taking a back seat to what I've seen so far in American Gods.
Yeah, I'm with you. Which shocks me because I thought Legion was, well, just above and beyond anything else out there. And I don't know. Yeah, I feel strongly that this is just a touch better, and I can't say why, but it just grabbed me even more.
Right. I think it might be also because Legion's first episode was a bit ambiguous. Like, it left you going, well, I'm not sure what's going on here. Where American Gods is, okay, this is kind of somewhat of a setup. We still haven't been introduced to all the key players yet, and we still haven't been introduced to like the actual what Mr. Wednesday wants to do with Shadow Moon and what his ultimate plan is. But I think it grabs you more than Legion does.
Yeah, that first episode of Legion was a bit ponderous. You don't know what's real and what's not real. And this one, you're right. I think it sets it up. It's a lot easier to understand, which doesn't make it any less interesting.
Right.
But it was a lot easier to follow.
Anything else you want to say, baby?
12 out of 10.
She says 12 out of 10. She loved it that much.
Loki wasn't a woman in this, was she?
No, Loki wasn't. Oh, you're still thinking about who Loki was?
Yeah, I am.
She put it together.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now. Now I want to know.
I was really surprised they didn't just flat out say it. But she put it together who it was. She said, "Is it?" And I said, "Yeah."
Okay, I'm gonna go back because now I'm trying to get the interactions of the characters. I'm trying to think.
He was in the beginning of the book.
He was in the beginning of the what?
He was in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. I mean, he just got out of prison in the book. All right.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and edit. Guys, thank you very much. If you guys are interested in this, we could maybe make this a weekly thing, depending on how our schedules line up. We'll see how that goes. But let us know what you think about it in the comment section. Let us know what you think about American Gods in the comment section. Jess, where can they find you?
I am on Riley Moore's The Omnibus Collectors Facebook page. It is called The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community Group thing.
Comic Pop Swap something.
Stop, drop. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and I'm an admin there in his Facebook group.
And of course, you can find me here at Hardcover Reviews. You could look on Twitter and Facebook in the description. And if you want to support this channel, Patreon is found down below in the description for as little as $5 a month. You get a whole bunch of new videos. And me and Jess are actually about to do the news show, which really light week this week. But we're still going to put that out. Should be going up later tonight. So with that said, love you guys. Have a great week.
Peace and love.